Welcome to the Thrive for Life podcast. I am your host, Adrienne Kawabata, and I am so excited to have you here today. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, specialized in orthopedic conditions, but most of all, I'm just a passionate mom that's part of the healthcare team, and I want to share these fun and insightful conversations that I have with a variety of experts. We share up-to-date medical information and current best practices, all related to improving our health that's way better than your doctor Google search. From strength training and tips for runners, ways to stay strong and pain-free as an active and busy mom, optimizing your nutrition, recovery, and so much more. I hope this podcast helps guide you towards thriving in this life you're in, and thank you for listening in. Now, let's get to the show. All right, everybody. So in today's episode, my patient Katie, with her permission, wanted to share her journey of rehabbing her hip labral tear. From the time of injury to self-rehabbing, doctor's appointments, contemplating surgery and injections, and going to multiple physical therapists and different clinics. Every journey is a bit different, and she shares with us her experience in insurance-based physical therapy and out-of-network / cash pay PT with me. You'll learn what the key differences in the quality of care you can get in this non-traditional model. So stay tuned in this episode as you hear about her journey living with a hip labral tear and what it was like going through different forms of treatment, and that left her in pain for over a year, but then dominating a race that she's been really longing to do. So stay tuned. Hey, Katie, how are you doing today? Thanks for being on the show.
Hi, Adrienne. Thanks for having me.
So, just as a little intro, Katie is a patient of mine, and she eagerly wanted to come and share her experience with everybody. And so here we are talking about her experience. So before we start with that, tell us a little bit about yourself and some of your athletic background, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I first ran into Adrienne, I should say, after seeking help for a hip labral tear. But prior to that, I was a swimmer at University of Hawaii at Manoa, had a shoulder injury, came back from that, was wanting to start running more, had hopes of qualifying for the Boston Marathon, maybe doing an Ironman at some point. Definitely a runner, swimmer, was learning how to bike, but was struggling with actually being able to train consistently.
Okay, and then yeah, tell us how you got injured, like what happened.
Yeah, so I had completed the Honolulu Marathon in December of 2021. And then I noticed in February 2022, after an elevated split squat, that after that, my hip and my knee just did not feel the same. And so it was a really long process of actually getting a diagnosis. At first, they did an MRI of my knee, and in Hawaii, it takes months to get seen by the sports medicine doctor. And before even going to the sports med doctor, I had taken like a month off of training completely. And I thought, oh, maybe, rest will do it some good. And then I tried to slowly come back and I got injured again. So I went to a physical therapist. I asked my doctor, can you just send me to a PT? I'm having knee pain. And she was like, yeah, no problem. So I went and saw a physical therapist for, gosh, 6 to 8 weeks. And essentially he said, yeah, I can't help you any more than this. I don't really know what's going on. I kept trying on my own to get back into sport. It was super infuriating, as any athlete that has a goal in mind would know. It's so
Yeah.
frustrating when you feel like you're trying to get back in and cannot. Um, and then I went back and finally got an appointment with the sports med doctor. They were like, "Oh, we need to take a look at the knee and the hip." They thought I tore my meniscus. Found out, nope, we need an angiogram of your hip, actually. But it took months to even, get those appointments. And I just remember last year at this time, I had signed up for a triathlon. I was having a sprint triathlon. It was my first one. I was having horrible knee and hip pain. And I just told myself, okay, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to run that hard on it, so that I don't injure myself too bad, but I'm sore enough. So when I see the sports med doctor the next day, they're going to believe me when I say I have hip pain.
That's crazy
Yeah.
that you had to like hurt, like knowingly kind of be hurting before you go see the doctor without just to be heard. So,
Yeah.
so you saw a sports med person, doctor, and then got PT, and then you saw him
Yeah.
again. Okay.
Yeah, so I got PT. I got injured in February, took a month off. End of March, I started seeing a PT. He couldn't help me.
What kind of
Didn't
things,
get enough.
talk us through, like what kind of things you
Yeah.
were like doing in therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how were you performing already? Because you were hurting. It hurt
Yeah.
to run. It hurt to,
Yep.
did it hurt to swim at the time too? Or,
Um, I couldn't really do flip turns and push off the wall very well.
okay.
So yeah, at that time I was like thinking it was just a sore knee and nothing more. And he gave me lots of clamshells, said it was maybe, something in my glute causing the knee pain, lots of like internal, external band work. Wasn't super sure. Um, and then he was like, you just really need to rest. You can't take it 0 to 100. And I was like, okay, helpful. I just took a month of rest. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
how much more resting I can do. And I was getting to the point, I think when I saw you, I was like, do I just need to turn into someone that only walks and does Pilates? Like I'm just keep getting hurt.
Yes.
Yeah, it was super frustrating. So that was that process from February to about March, April. I finally got in to see the sports med doctor in July after having taken lots of breaks, lots of rest, trying that PT for 6 to 8 weeks and not seeing any results. And so that's why I was like, oh, I'll make sure that, it's extra sore when he sees it. So he believes me because oftentimes it's hard to even get the imaging done to diagnose things. They tend to want to push that off and push that off and push that off. So my
Mhm.
hope was, okay, I've been injured since February. It's July. Please help me. I've tried rest. I've tried PT. We
Yeah.
need imaging.
Yeah. And
Um,
especially when they look at you, you're this young, healthy 25 at the time, 25-year-old,
yeah, 25,
26,
26. I was a former
26 year
Division One
old.
athlete, like,
Yeah. She's like, oh, there's probably not, she's probably healthy, just overdoing it. She just needs rest, is probably
yeah.
the narrative they had in their head, maybe. Okay.
Absolutely. And even and when you're injured, right, it makes you start questioning yourself, which I'm sure we can go deeper into at some point. But yeah, once I saw him, that's when it was, oh, you tore your meniscus. Oh, wait, we read the imaging wrong. We need to get a hip angiogram, but we can't get that done till August or September because we're all booked out. So I think I didn't even get that done till September. And in the meantime, they sent me to another physical therapist. Um, and I was going weekly. I saw that physical therapist from September. No, actually, August to December. Um, and when I found out that I had tore my hip labrum, I was going into the orthopedic surgeon's office weekly for like a month. And he was trying to decide whether or not I needed surgery. And honestly, I'm very thankful that he was the one to tell me, I want you to try physical therapy for a long time. If you start getting pain here, that's a sign that maybe you do need surgery. But if you don't have horrible pain in this position, I really want you to try just more physical therapy. So I'm like, okay, I'm avoiding surgery. I'm
Yeah.
doing physical therapy.
Yeah.
Um, I worked with that physical therapist, right, every single week from August, September, October, November, December, 5 months. And I was doing an an hour of physical therapy activities
Oh my God.
every single day, every single day.
I
Um,
give you so much credit because just a normal person with you're working a full-time job. I mean,
yep.
like keeping up with an hour of exercise, whether it's physical therapy related or not, is just that's a huge commitment. So
Yeah.
props to you for having that like mental like focus to make that a part of your schedule. But that is a lot. An hour a day, every day, and
Yep.
you actually did it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
did that for 5 months. talk us
Hmm.
through what kinds of exercise those were compared to the other PT that you got.
Yeah, so this PT, I didn't really have a lot of interaction with the physical therapists themselves. They tend to have these assistants that are either in college, I think usually in college, sometimes maybe seniors in high school shadowing, and they just gave me a bunch of exercises and essentially I would go do them on my own. And sometimes those assistants were free enough to let me know if I was doing the exercises right or not. And there wasn't much
Uh,
hands-on work. And I kind of felt like, wow, I could probably be YouTubing some of this if I'm just going to be, doing exercises on my own.
mhm.
It was also like I wasn't necessarily being heard as to what my goals were. It was, oh, well, you can finally, it took me months to be able to run a mile again. And in my first appointment I went in, I was like, oh my goodness, it was, well, no wonder you're incredibly weak. You're so weak. And it's like,
Oh.
yeah, because I took a month off. The sports med doctor was telling me no running at all. You can only walk. You can't even kick in the pool.
Oh my God.
You
Wow.
know, if you're going to bike really slow. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to come in here weak because I have a sports med doctor telling me not to do anything
Uh-huh.
for months, So
Yeah.
just all those conflicting messages. And then to come to this physical therapy office and essentially just getting a bunch of like random exercises with no feedback. They were all unweighted. It was mostly holds, which are very time consuming too when you're
Mhm.
just doing body weight holds, which I can see the benefits of body weight holds, but there was no progression.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you did
Yeah.
an hour of your own PT outside of PT, being in the clinic.
Yeah.
And then when you were in the clinic, you saw your physical therapist for like 10, 15 minutes, maybe? How
On a
long?
good day.
On a
On a
good
good day.
day. Okay. And she would like he or she would work on you like hands-on type of things.
Um,
No,
Only a couple of the appointments.
okay.
I think of all the appointments, maybe like definitely less than like 8 of the appointments I was physically touched.
For 5 months.
Yes.
For 5 months. Okay. Okay. And then the exercises you did in the clinic, were they the same that when you were doing it at home by on your own, or are they different?
So the exercises that I was doing in clinic were the exact same ones that they were assigning me to do at home. So it
Hmm.
was like, okay, so wait, I already did my physical therapy that you assigned to me this morning. And so I'm just going to come in and like do these same exercises again for an hour.
Wow. So you had to
Okay.
drive all the way to the clinic to do the same thing that you would have done at home. Maybe with a
And a
little,
lot of times that I had already done. And so I'm like, I thought we were going to change up the exercises a little bit
yeah,
here.
progress, yeah, okay. You'd think
Yeah.
that, right? Okay. So I don't mean to, I'm interviewing Katie because I want there to be a general knowledge for the people out there that physical therapy is unfortunately just getting into this watered down, run of the mill, like do this exercise for this injury and then go on your way. And there's hardly ever that personalized time. Like maybe things would have been different if this physical therapist took the time to really interview you and like, hey, what did you do today? Like, how's your exercises going? Okay, good. That's getting easy. Let's go to the next thing rather than like most patients, like, unfortunately, within the mainstream physical therapy clinic are super crappy at adhering to their home program because it's not emphasized. The therapist doesn't emphasize the importance of it. They don't take the time to walk them through like, hey, like this is what I want you to do and how I want you to do it and have a reasonable plan to implement into their daily life is like they just don't take the time to do that. So no wonder people don't adhere to their plan of care, their home program, because it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to go to the clinic and do it anyway. So that kind of takes away that autonomy of that patient being in the driver's seat of their injury. So I don't like, yeah, this episode isn't meant to bash physical therapy. It's just the mainstream physical therapy. It's just meant to paint a picture of what mainstream PT is looking like and it doesn't have to be that way, but certain things like insurance reimbursement and just how businesses choose to run force therapists to see multiple people at the same time and then hire these lower level providers like these college students that maybe even working for free, honestly. Sometimes I did that for years before I got into physical therapy school. I was, taking people just like you through exercises, but I'm unskilled really at the time. So it sucks being in your shoes because you're there to really work hard, and the kind of care that you're given was not what you would think, right? You're there to get better, to get stronger and meet these goals. But yeah, so I just wanted to paint a picture of what it looks like in mainstream PT, and we can segue on like how we met and everything, but we'll finish
Yeah.
off like how did it end? Like when you were done with the 5 months, like how are you were able to run a mile again. So certain
Hmm.
things were getting better because you were doing an hour of physical therapy 7 days a week, maybe.
Yeah.
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 And so you'd hope that some things are getting better that keeps you going every, I don't know, twice a week. How often were you going?
I was seeing her sometime for most of the time twice a week, but then insurance stopped covering, right? They're
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, well, you can run a mile, so you're
Okay,
good."
so
But it
that's
was
where you
just
were
to the
at
point. Yep, it was
in
just like
December.
not getting any better. And my insurance was like, "Well, you're gonna have to go back and see a physician again and somehow get more, like, get them to approve more sessions." So
Okay. So what what was the game plan after that, after December of 2022? So you've been recovering from an injury for almost a year at that point,
yeah,
from just running a
yeah,
marathon a year prior. But I want
yeah.
people to know, like, how did that marathon feel? Like you trained for it properly? That
Hmm.
how were you performing all through 2021?
Yeah, yeah. I would say like there was no, I didn't necessarily sense any issues with my hip all throughout 2021. However, after working with you and like reflecting, I can see that my legs were more fatigued, and I think it was just the lack of strength training, after completing Division 1 athletics and not having a strength coach and a strength plan. I really just put strength training on the back burner, and it was sneak in a run whenever I had time.
Mhm,
And I think reflecting back, I did feel fine, but I think, wow, would I have gotten to this place had I incorporated strength training sooner?
mhm. Okay. So you
Yeah.
went into the marathon, not doing a lot of strength training?
No,
Okay. But you
none.
finished the marathon.
Yeah, I finished the
You want to
marathon. It
share
wasn't
your
my
time
best
with
time.
us?
I honestly cannot tell you. I really cannot remember my best time. I want to say I know the first time I ran it was like 3 hours and 50 minutes, and I think my second one may have been 4:05. I do remember I cramped at the end. And I knew that my nutrition was pretty on par, so I have a feeling that that may have been due to like muscle weakness and maybe imbalances. I don't know for
Mhm.
sure, hard to say. But I think it was like it was definitely slower than my first one, and I remember feeling like, man, am I done running?
So yeah, the December 2021 one was felt like moderately good for you, or
Yeah, yeah. I would say like marathons can depend on the day when you are approaching them. I knew that my training, it was strong, but it wasn't, I didn't have the base that I did right after out of completing collegiate swimming.
Mhm.
I was working full time and managing the stress of like post COVID working in healthcare. Um, so yeah, I'm sure it could be done better and replicated, and I'd probably get better results, like incorporating strength training. But yeah, I
Okay.
didn't necessarily feel like I had a hip injury at that time or knee
Yeah.
issues.
It was just, yeah, that damn elevated split squat that
Yep, never
you
again.
probably weren't ready for, or whatever it is at the time. Okay, so then fast forward, it's 2023, this year. When did we
Hmm.
meet? So yeah, we met, was that
March or April?
March or
I think
April?
I think we met at the end of March, but I think we started working together at the beginning of April.
April. Okay, I'll have to look back, but we definitely met around March.
Hmm.
through this business coaching
Yes.
little program that we both ended up being in, and so happened to be in the same state.
Hmm.
She's like, oh, so tell me what made you want to work with another physical therapist again after having the year-long experience with
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
PT last year.
I think the biggest thing for me was so once I didn't get sessions approved through my insurance, like once I knew I was going to have to go back and do that whole thing again, and I just felt like I wasn't progressing at the rate I wanted to, I had reached out to my college strength coach who still has like strength and conditioning plans. And so I started a little bit with him and I was like, oh, this is good. Like I can do a lot of this, except for I'm not sure how to change up these strength workouts so that I can do them without further injuring myself.
Mhm.
And he's not a physical therapist. This was kind of like a pre-made plan. I was like, I really need someone, and I know that I need to strength train. Like this seems to be my issue. And so when we were in that program together, and you had said like, "Oh, I'm in Honolulu," I was like, "Oh my gosh, like yes, I need to see if she's familiar with working with hips because I still wasn't where I wanted to be." Um, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, and yeah, that was so. If you say like April, May, June, July. Okay. So 4 months ago,
yeah,
maybe at most, I feel like I just met you, but I feel like
I
I've known
know.
you for a long time at the same time because we just got along really well. But so when you started working with me, you were at tops like running, I don't know, five, anywhere between 3 to 5 miles a week or 7 miles max or something like that is what I had reported down off the top of
Yeah,
my head.
I think
Um,
seven max, seven
yeah,
absolute max. And at the time, my old physical therapist, so there was a lot of undoing once we started working together, right? I came to
yeah,
you and I was like, I can only run on a treadmill because I need to be looking at my form. My last
uh-huh,
physical therapist told me I need to run on my toes and I need to run on the treadmill so I can look at my form. And
mhm,
I was doing like a mile tops, and then I would do like 2 miles if they were really slow, or a mile walk run.
mhm.
Um, yeah,
You were
when we
going at
first
an
met.
easy pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would incorporate like a little bit of like fast for a minute, but mostly easy.
Mhm. And just for like our listeners' point of reference, like what's an easy pace for you?
Oh man, I would say anywhere between 10 and 11 minutes.
Okay. Okay. And then so yeah, when we started working together, yeah, so you when you found out that I was an out of network provider, what ran through your head?
I would say I was honestly so fed up with um, trying so many different providers and not getting solutions and wanting to try and avoid surgery at all costs that it didn't. I was like, it's worth it. If she can actually help me, and you seemed very confident that you could help me. Um, And if she can do this in 3 months, what I'm asking for, which at the time I thought was like such a bold goal, and thought maybe you were going to say, like, yeah, you won't be able to do that in 3 months. Um, I was like, if she can tell me I can do this, I'm sending it. I'm not even going to blink. If this means I'm not going to be in pain every single night when I'm sleeping, when I'm walking, and if I can do some of the activities that bring me so much joy,
Mhm. Yeah,
bring it
because
on, Adrian.
you weren't biking at the time. You were mainly
No.
swimming and then doing really easy runs up to like on a higher end mileage of 7 miles. And these were like
Yeah,
at
per week.
1 to 2 mile intervals, right?
Yep.
So yeah, when we started working together, I kind of flipped the script on you. I I didn't want to add any more mileage. The main thing that I focused on with you was filling in where you were lacking, which was strength training. Like,
Yeah.
I know that you were doing some form of strength training with your prior PT, but it was not nearly to the level that you needed to, because with the amount of like rest that you had done, and then like even prior to that, not loading your muscles and your joints and everything to tolerate the demand of running, you needed to up your strength, and you were already strong. So I knew that like the definition of strength is so different. Like I knew you were very capable of it because you're a collegiate level athlete. I knew that you had it in you, but it's just like we got to reincorporate strength training into this girl's life again because her joints are screaming for help. So you needed
Yeah.
that. And so tell me, like, tell our listeners what your strength program looked like when you started working with me.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think I ever even told you this, but I can remember when Adrian was like, "Oh yeah, let me set you up on our my app that I have, and I'm gonna write you workouts, and like you check when you've done it." She gave me like decently challenging weights for some things, like not super challenging, but I was like, I'm not even used to a physical therapist saying I can lift weights, so this is awesome. But I remember seeing like only 3 times per week because I
Mhm.
had become so accustomed to the old physical therapist that was like, you need to be doing this every day. If
Uh-huh.
you think that you have a chance it repairing your hip without surgery, you need to be doing this every single day. And maybe for some people who aren't super consistent, that was like they told themselves, okay, I'll do every day and do it 4 times a week. But I was like, every day,
Yes, yeah.
like
You took it
absolutely.
literally. Yes. I mean, like, if she checked, if your PT checked in with you, it's like, oh crap, she's actually doing it 7 days a week, and like asked you, maybe I would hope that she'd say, like, okay, let's down it, like tone it down a little bit. Let's, I don't know. Did she ever check in with you? And
She did, and I'm not clueless. As someone who works with, I'm a dietitian, I work with
Mhm.
athletes, I was a Division 1 athlete, I know rest and recovery is important. So I remember
Huge.
asking her like, "Are you sure that I don't need at least one rest day?" And she was like, "I mean, I guess if you feel like you need it." And I'm like,
Oh
"Oh
my
gosh,
gosh.
like I'm weak. I don't want surgery. No rest."
Crazy. Okay, you are just, you put the faith in her hands. So okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3 days a week.
Maybe
And
35, 45 minutes, yours. If I'm going really slow, it's like 40, 45 minutes if I'm doing a little extra, stretch afterwards. But I would say most times I was complete with the exercises within 30 to 35 minutes.
mhm. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, and evaluated your running form,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you remember like what I told you about, like, because you had so many words and so many thoughts about, I was taught this and this, and to stop running like that, like start running on my toes, but really like pull with my hamstrings. Do you remember what I told you?
If I can remember correctly, it was like I think you need to like stop thinking so much about
Mhm.
running and just let your body do what it's supposed to do. And I was like, oh. And you were like, also, do you enjoy running on a treadmill? And I was like, no, I don't like it at all. And you're like, yeah, you can run outside.
Yeah. I mean, it seems so basic, but yeah, I told her, stop thinking about it so hard. Because you've done it all your life. It was only
Yeah.
recently that you started to have issues with it. It's just like this chick
Yeah.
ran a marathon more than once.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing like obviously like aberrant about your movement. So there was nothing I needed to tell you. Just like I just heard you talking through it. I'm just like, she's thinking too much. I just want her to
Yep.
like enjoy running, and then I will curve you, like I will tell you, like, okay, we're gonna stick with easy runs as you have. So the only variable that's gonna change is going outside and strength training, and then just assess how your hip is doing. Because at the
Yeah.
time you knew that going more than a certain amount of mileage, your hip, like you described, you felt like an old lady, like getting out of bed, and like you'd go
Yep.
through these periods of like severe pain and unable to move. That's how you described it to me. So you can kind of
Yeah.
put it into your own words, but you were afraid to do more because when you did more in the past, it had set you back so much. I don't know how much, but you would be hurting
Yeah.
for, I don't know, how long were you hurting for when you did?
Yeah, it really depended. And I still feel like I'm learning, what causes my hip to flare and how much that I can take and do without the pain impacting my like day-to-day quality of life. So I wouldn't know for sure, but um, I do feel like it was really helpful to have you there if I did ever push it. And I think you really challenged me to say, like, before when I was working with physical therapists, they were like, don't do any hikes, don't do hikes, don't do Coco Head here on Oahu. That's a bunch of stairs. that's going to be horrible for it. Don't do any of those things. So I feel like by the time I came to you, I was like overthinking everything, doing
Mhm.
60 minutes of physical therapy every day and fearful of causing myself any pain. And it wasn't until you had like talked to me about, sometimes you're going to flare it up and it's going to be okay. And I'll teach you how to come back from flare ups, that I felt more confident pushing it more. And I still feel like there's times when I don't want to push it more because I just don't have the bandwidth to deal with pain if it does cause pain. Um, so it's definitely been a learning experience, but certainly I'm doing much more now than I was doing before with way less activity, like physical therapy, prescribed strength training.
Yep, yep. So we toned it down. We upped your mileage after we
Yeah.
incorporated some speed work. Um,
Yeah.
and then gradually increased your mileage, incorporated cycling again.
Yeah.
So that, let's see, I don't want to like fast forward too far, but like your goal when you wanted to work with me is like, there is a sprint triathlon that I want to do on at the end of July. Do you think I can do it? And of course, given as how much we've talked about, like your history and everything, I was confident that like if you gave it a solid, like we had 3 months to work to get to your goal. And I was like, okay, I know she's gonna work really hard at this, and I have to like put faith in myself that I'm gonna be giving you the right things to work on to get you there. But yeah, tell us what happened at your race.
Yeah. So I think
How
when
was
we first
your
met, yeah, I was like, I really want to do this sprint triathlon, and life has happened since then. And I only was really prioritizing the 3 strength training sessions per week that you had given me. Like, I don't even think, had I even committed more to like running more consistently and things we had worked on. But I ended up winning the whole
Yes.
race,
Oh my
and
God.
going like 8 minutes faster than I had the year before. And the last year when I had done it, I was like in a lot of pain. Like I told you, I told myself in the 5K run of the sprint triathlon, I wasn't going to run faster than 9 minutes per mile. I didn't want to do further damage to it because I didn't know what was going on. And then this year, I was like, I'll just see how I feel. I just want to make sure I'm listening to my body. But I felt so strong, like on the bike, on the run. My legs felt so strong. And I ended up holding like what, 7:30 pace on
Yeah.
for the 5K and going like 22 minutes and something seconds. So I was pretty pumped on that.
Yeah. I mean, I knew you were gonna do well. And when you said that, when you texted me that you won the whole damn thing, I was like, oh my God. I am so proud of you, Katie. I mean, that's huge. You went from like being scared to do more to just placing first in the entire race. So it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, you have so much to be proud of. And then I think it's a good lesson to learn that like you already kind of knew that your body needed some level of rest to recover and
Yeah.
to reap the benefits of strength training. You can't just train every day and expect to accelerate. Your body needs that time to rest. It needs that nourishment from your diet. And like you're an expert in that, you're a registered dietitian that works with endurance athletes. So it's like even better. You knew all the different components of what would give you some success. So, and it drove you to be
Yeah.
first, which is so exciting.
Yes, but I have to say, like Adrian, I people were coming up to like, what is your secret? And I'm like, my physical therapist. I seriously, I don't even think that this podcast like encapsulates and how much you did for me, and just the difference in like working with you and another physical therapist. Like, I think what 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, I had a total breakdown to Adrian,
Yes,
like
we
when
didn't
we were
talk
doing
about that.
in the middle of physical therapy, like I just need to get a cortisone shot. I just need to get surgery. What's going on with me? And like, I think, I would have never felt comfortable enough even sharing that with my last physical therapist, who I saw for longer than I saw you, and more frequently. And I wouldn't have been comfortable saying that to the physical therapist that I saw before. But I think that you took so much time to get to know me as a person, as an athlete, what my goals were, and helped me so much with not even just training, but stress management, right? Like the way that stress can impact
Yeah.
your hip, and made me really reflect on just my entire life and incorporating more gentle activity throughout the day, like walking more is going to help your hip. You don't have to sit and rest for your hip. That's not going to help it, which before I was told otherwise. And
Mhm.
completely transforming how I worked from home and my desk setup. So that way I had the least amount of hip pain possible and was feeling stronger when it was time to go run at the end of my, work shift or whatever. So, yeah, I think if anyone's listening and if anyone has like any doubts with their current physical therapist and feels like their needs are not getting met or heard, like I'm so, so grateful that I connected with you, because I don't think I would have been able to do that triathlon, let alone win the whole thing. When I finished, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to text Adrian that I won this whole
Oh, I
thing.
was so stoked for you. And I mean, the lingering thing in my mind was just like, okay, how is she going to feel the next day? So,
Yeah,
because that's really the determining factor is like, yeah, like last year you did it, but you were hurting
so
and you
bad.
were, yeah. So, how did you feel after this race?
Yeah. So after this race, definitely there's like a little bit of soreness, but also, like I had mentioned, I wasn't necessarily doing as much speed training lately with the other stressors in my life, and trying to focus on stress management and incorporating more balance and listening to my body. Um, but I was more sore 4 weeks ago from maybe sitting too much. I don't know. I can't even remember that time that I was like freaking out. My hip's
You
getting
were
worse.
there was a, I don't know how much you want to like disclose what your stressors
Yeah.
were, but you had multiple stressors at the same time and your training load was the same. And I told you your like we described your stressors like as a cup. Your cup's overflowing. You need to take
Yep.
out one of the stressors, and strength training can wait. It is a form of
Yeah.
stress, but that's good. But it's only good if your body can tolerate that much load. And that's emotional load, that's physical load, that's mental load, that's you were overflowing. So I was like,
Yeah.
chill out for, yeah, because you needed to sort out things with your life that you shared with me. And after that, it's like, okay, things kind of like started to calm down again. It's like, that's
Yeah.
what's so interesting about pain. And pain can be a whole different topic in its own little podcast, but pain is, yeah, it's very complicated, but it can exacerbate some of just stressors of life, like whatever your relationships, your work, whatever it is, it can cause physical pain if you're dealing with it. Like it's like I didn't even do anything and it's more
Yeah.
sore today. It's like that's stress is very interesting that way. So
Yeah.
um so cool that you won it. I feel like I got lucky with such a cool patient that just can rip it and like was diligent and like as knowledgeable as you. So I feel lucky to have worked with you, Katie.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, Adrian. I appreciate it. Yeah, Jared would joke. Adrian didn't know she was signing up to be your physical therapist and your mental health therapist. But it's been really interesting for me to learn just, how much of a role it all plays. And I
Hmm.
appreciate everything you've done to help me.
Yes. It's been so much fun working with you. And um you have many more goals um of running longer distances, hopefully an Ironman distance. Like I'll be there for you and in any way that I can. But this is a huge stepping stone for you and in your athletic future. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate
Yeah.
you like giving me my confidence back in sport. I
Hmm.
think that was even more than anything, aside from the strength training, is regaining my confidence.
Yeah. Yes. Great. Yeah. Um, well, I mean, I thank you for being here. And yeah, like I said, I want our listeners to know what kind of care they can get. It can look physical therapy can look like a lot of different things, but if you have an injury,
and you're not getting heard by your physical therapist, not getting better in a way
Mm-hmm.
that, is meeting your goals, and you feel kind of pushed aside, it's time to find a different game plan, because it's your time, and I mean it's your body that you're dealing with. So I hope everyone knows that not every PT will be for you. There's so many different physical therapists out there that is specialized with certain injuries. So if you're not feeling like you're getting better with the one that you have currently, it's okay to find a different one. I'm like, as a healthcare provider, they shouldn't feel offended that you chose to go seek help somewhere else. It's an opportunity for that person to reflect on like what their strong suits are, and what their not so strong suits are. So um I hope, like, the reason why I practice the way I do is I just wanted to provide the kind of care that I would want as a patient, um to have clarity in what the plan is, like to have that feeling like my physical therapist actually knows what's going on with me. She like knows my history. She knows what's going on in my life to a certain extent, how I can incorporate the plan of care that is being provided. It's like, if you had other things going on in your life, I probably would have made your plan look a little bit differently, because if you only could commit to 2 times a week, I would have structured your strength training plan a little bit differently. So it's malleable and it's fluid, and I feel like a good physical therapist should be able to help their patient where they're at in their life. And yes, so I choose to practice the way I do, to have this one-on-one time with you, to listen to your story, to give you the care that you need, and then like when we're not together, to still feel like you have access to me, because sometimes you have that quick questions like, oh, like, was I supposed to like do this exercise this way or that way? Or like, if you just let me know like, hey, there's this thing is going on this week, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do this workout. Is there something that I should really focus on? Or, I'm traveling, like how you were traveling, what can I do like when when I'm traveling, like what exercises should I focus on? So it's things like that challenge me as a therapist, but that's why you hired me. That's what I'm here for. It's to kind of like help you through those little like head scratching moments of like, oh, should I just stop doing my physical therapy altogether? It's like, no, just give me a call and just shoot me a text. And yeah, it can be as simple as that, because I have the time to focus on you and answer those texts and answer those calls, because I'm not being slammed with 20-25 patients a day anymore. It's crazy
Yeah.
how it used to be when I practiced in the clinic. But yeah, I just want people to feel like um they're getting the care that they're paying for, and that they're not wasting their time um going into the clinic twice a week and not getting anywhere. Like, I would hate that. That would, like, your time is precious, like, especially if you have like a family going on. So anyway, that's my little soapbox about physical therapy. And yeah, thank you for being on the show and sharing your experience, because it's such a good contrast of, yeah, the kind of care that you can get. So is there
Yeah,
anything else
yeah.
you wanted to finish and share with
No, I don't
everybody?
think so. But just to like even, reiterate what you said about the one-on-one care that you provide and like really getting to know your clients and being so responsive, as like even the day before my race, right? Me reaching out to you like, hey, is there anything I should do before my race to make sure my hip is good? And you able to like text me a couple things like, oh yeah, try this, try this. And when I'm traveling and I know my hip gets flared up, oh, try this, try this. And it was so much harder navigating that alone and not having access to my physical therapist before. And not that that physical therapist or any of the previous ones I was working with would have maybe had anything to say or anything to help. But I didn't even have that access, right? So I think that's a huge part in working with you, is just the accessibility. If a question comes up, or, if I'm struggling, if I feel like something's not working, you were always willing to like alter something if I felt like a certain exercise was too painful, or, try it this way, try it that way. And also telling me not afraid to, go heavier in weight. So I really, really did appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're so welcome. And I'm excited to see what happens in the future. So to be continued. Katie is awesome. So the Na Wahine Sprint Triathlon champ here today. Thank you for being here. It's been fun. Oh, okay. Thanks for being here, Katie.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening in on today's show. I really hope my listeners have learned something about what physical therapy in a non-traditional cash pay model can look like. Just to give some context, since we forgot some dates, I looked back, and Katie's initial evaluation with me was on April 29th of this year, 2023. And 9 PT sessions later, she did her sprint triathlon on July 30th of 2023. So just 3 months later, as mentioned, she crushed it, won first place overall, and did it without her hip pain. I'm so impressed. I'm so honored that she worked so hard and worked with me to achieve this huge goal of hers. So she's still working through some things, but we really progressed things in a way that allowed her to succeed at that race. So of those 9 sessions Katie had with me, maybe about half were done at her apartment gym, so I could evaluate her setup and form while doing newer movements, and the other half were done in my office for hands-on work and exercise. Every one of those sessions we were discussing on how her program was going, because I would provide her home exercise programs through the app called True Coach that we mentioned. I'd provide an education on what's going on with her body, stress management, because there are things going on with her life, and how to mitigate that and integrate training or not integrate training during stressful times, and a lot more. So we had that one-on-one time to discuss those important moments of her life. So one thing that she didn't share, but she shared with me later, the day that she texted me, like, I won the whole damn thing. She was just like, and I was doing, at the end of the race, she was just like, you'd be so proud. At the end of the race, she was doing her self-hip mobilizations that I taught her. She brought her band with her, because she said, I was like, I was just doing it prophylactically, just in case, like, it needed to be loosened up, because that was a lot more load than she has done in a long time. So I'm really proud of how she was able to navigate that with the education that I provided her. So lastly, just 5 key takeaways I want to summarize. 1, strength training is paramount for runners, whether you've been running all your life or are new to it. 2, not all PTs will be the one for you. Just like finding a good massage therapist, contractor that's building your house, accountant, psychologist, chiropractor, or any person you hire, you may have to shop around for the one that you jive with and is actually knowledgeable in the injury you have. And 3, some mainstream PT clinics are forced to water down their care for bottom line productivity standards, and if you feel like you're in that setting, or your therapist just doesn't seem to meet you where you're at in terms of your strength or time commitment, and you're just not progressing the way you want, just know there are better options, and you just have to shop around and look around for the PT that is going to serve you well. Number 4, one session with me is 60 minutes, and that's equivalent to about 3 to 4 sessions of a typical PT session. Depending on how busy your therapist is that day, he or she may only see you for anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes. Katie saw me in person 9 times in the course of 3 months. Prior to that, she was seeing her PT twice a week for 5 months to spend just a short amount of time one-on-one with her PT. If you're finding yourself in this situation, I really want you to ask yourself, hey, is driving to this PD session twice a week just to spend 15-20 minutes with my therapist really worth my time? What am I getting at the end of this session? Am I building upon each session? Am I getting closer towards my goals? Am I getting value out of that 15 to 20 minutes? So make sure you're getting the quality care you deserve with the time that you're committing to therapy. And 5, last but not least, if you're in a situation where you need physical therapy, I empower everybody that's listening to look for a PT that will truly listen to you, that is knowledgeable in your injury, and just be the guide to achieve your goals, that is passionate about helping you. So thank you so much for listening today. I really hope you enjoyed listening and learning about what PT can look like in different settings, and also just get stoked for such a cool success story. So I look forward to sharing even more with you all in the future. All right, have a wonderful day.